Hi, friends. My name is Sin Lagos, and this is your artist speaking. This is a series of conversations with visual creator Sin Lagos. That's me, discussing the techniques and current culture of the creative industry, all the while navigating my own artistic identity. Hi, friends. Welcome back. Thank you for listening. I am so happy that you're here and I hope you're taking it easy breezy. Today, we're going to talk about the balance between work and life and whether those two are mutually exclusive. Let's think about that. Oftentimes, we are taught to separate those two. In fact, it is encouraged to separate them. Work is work, life is life. It's almost as if someone is saying that while we work, we're not alive. Or while we live, we're not really working for anything. There's no purpose, there's no goal. We're just standing there, perhaps. I have my opinions about it all because for the last 10 plus years, I have been working relentlessly and vicariously also living through my career. And I find that to be an interesting odds, right? A blessing at times, a bit of a burden sometimes too. So, what do I mean by that? What do I mean by, hey, I'm working and living at the same time? Well, the beauty of being an artist or being a creator, being someone who's leaning into their sense of creativity is that our jobs aren't dull. They're not a step and repeat. They're not a single solution, single answer takes all. It often is a wild ride, often is a wild card. So we tend to always have a little bit of fun with it. We tend to always be completely, emotionally invested in it. And it takes a lot of mental and physical energy to just show up to our desks, to our field of work, whether that's like you're photographing someone, you're filming something, you are, designing something really cool, taking a case study and finding out the visual solution. It is often a very almost like wholehearted career, and I think that's what drives us often, right? Those of us who are in a creative industry is that it has that element of imagination, right? Imagination and possibility, something that maybe hasn't quite been yet. And that is very inspiring. It's almost like traveling to the moon, right? Never seen it before, haven't been there yet, or discovering a new country or something like that. There's a element of just possibility. And I think that's the hook. And whether it's hard work or not, we find ourselves here day in and day out attempting our very tiny mark at the whole thing. I know that at least for me, that has been a grand motivation behind why I have relentlessly worked for 10 plus years in graphic design, photography, and now delving into film. It's been a wild ride of incredible highs and lows and wow, right? Yeah, and I think about this quest that is a social quest that is been sort of asked of us, which is to have a balance between work and life. And sometimes I feel like maybe I'm not very good at it. Sometimes I feel like maybe if I do life, I do it really well, and I'm thinking life category involves being outside, being outdoors, and forget the tech and you know we're almost like allergic to technology if we're outside, and if I'm doing the work, then I'm allergic to plants and I am not allowed to be in the sun. And that sounds horrible, right? That just does not sound right. So I've decided to approach it in a different way. And I want to share some of those ways that I find balance in work and life and how f- get them to coexist so that it never feels like they're mutually exclusive, but rather it feels like they balance each other out. It is a sustainable relationship. One gives, the other one takes, the other one gives, the other one takes, and so on, so on, so on, right? And sometimes it's steps that are small. Sometimes it simply involves having your office be a representation of nature just as well as a representation of the latest, most modern, most futuristic technology you can think of. I've come to terms with the fact that in order for me to have work and life balance, I need to have my space be a space that it makes me feel human, not just bionic, right? You know, the definition of bionic is we have an extension of us that is technology. And oftentimes I have a camera in hand and I have a mouse in hand and I have a mic in hand. And there's just so many technological elements that extend my human anatomy. So, yeah, I oftentimes qualify as bionic, not simply human. And it's in those moments that I urge myself to say, well, maybe I should drink some water and step out into the sun. That is my break. That is my fuel. And so I incorporate these elements into my workflow. It isn't just about checking off the to do list of work oriented elements, but also checking off the ways that I fuel my body and mind, right? Having my plants, which I are dearly and beloved to me, near me, and naming them and caring for them, and still having them be part of my office space, having my artwork hanging on the walls, and I'm pointing at them as I speak, reminding me of all of the beauty that I've already accomplished, right? That I can be my own fuel, that I can be my own motivation, that I can be my own hero, that there are these incredible spaces of inspiration. And I have all these books surrounding me too that give me that incredible creative fuel in the morning so that I can get started and just tackle the day's worth with optimism, not just this dull sort of like dragging your feet and hoping for the best, right? Like, no, that's not quite it. You can't just set grounds that way. That's not going to work out. Yeah, and I find that making sure that your space is a reflection of those elements that make you feel alive is very important. So if for you you feel alive when you read some literature that reminds you of why you are motivated and inspired, then have those around you. If you are someone who's inspired by music, right, then you want a record player right beside you, or you want to have your playlist ready for you to get your day started, then do that too. Music is a beautiful art that deserves being incorporated into your daily routine. If it's just being near a window, I have so many windows in front of me. It was a high motivator for me to move into this apartment, to face the sun, so I can feel the cycle of the day happening as I run through my day in front of the computer. And I can see the clouds and I can see if it's going to be windy or if it's going to rain soon. I can see all of that and it's inspiring. And maybe some of us don't have that opportunity. Maybe some of us miss it because we think, well, it's better if I just have a room as a studio and that's that. No, maybe it's better if you stand by that corner window. That might inspire you more. It is better to grab that laptop that is so portable and go sit on your lawn and answer some emails if you must, but take in that vitamin D. And I probably look shockingly crazy to some people because I do that. But within me, I feel at ease. I feel happy and relaxed. Play some Bob Dylan and just realize that life is good and that whatever you're after, it's going to happen for you. You know, you're working for it, but you're also working towards your life. Pause for thought. The main idea I want you to consider here is think about the aspects of life that you can incorporate within your work environment. You are unique in the way that you work, so it makes sense that a working space that traditionally works for someone else may not be the exact definition of your creative space. For me, it's music, sunlight, and nature. What's yours? Pause about it. And then I think about life also and all these other elements that make me feel alive, right? And part of it, and the reason that is at the core of why I created this podcast, This Is Your Artist Speaking, is because oftentimes you can get lost in spending all that time just hoping to mobilize your work, hoping to create something great next after the last project you've created. And you get so caught up in that you forget that what anchors your creativity is seeing the world happen around you. At least it very much is for me. When I experience a world out there, traveling is a big part of my life. Coexisting with other people is a big part that feeds into my work, right? Journalism, learning about others. This is why I was so motivated and keen to create We the Peoples as a project in my photography because I wanted to create portraits of human beings. It's an interesting fuel that motivates you, which is just this sense of seeing others and witnessing the world as it happens around you, right? So sometimes you got to step out of that office, not because your office is bad, because we've now worked on our studio space and made it something inspiring, but also because it's a step in the right direction to choose to compartmentalize moments when you're out of the office, experiencing the world, knowing that that is potentially going to bring you a lot of inspiration too. Maybe that will bring in that little nudge of a surprise element that you just needed, that little bit of that ingredient that maybe you just don't know about yet that you can incorporate into your work. And that happens out there in the world. So you may be thinking, if I'm outside, I am not working. But consider this: moments that happen outside of the office can be the glue that help you form together that idea or observation that you're after. Sometimes the outside world is, in fact, the core that fuels your project forward. Pause about it. But I think the key element here in work and life balance is, in fact, the word balance. We cannot exert ourselves in either attempting to live life at the cost of our work or attempting to work at the cost of our lives. I've been lucky enough to live in a time where brands love incorporating a sense of life into the way that they motivate us to work. I've been lucky enough to work with brands that really try to create an experience for us. And if you are able to kind of support my work online, you probably have seen that the amazing partnerships I've had with brands like Google and Adobe that I'm just so proud of because I'm really lucky to be part of that community that chooses to give work a beautiful element of life, right? So undoubtedly, we're there to represent this brand, to be ambassadors for this brand. At the core, it is a company hoping to mobilize their product, right? That's what it is. Maybe it's not that poetic, and maybe it's not something that will motivate you, right? But then there's a reason why we choose to inject a little bit of life into it. And I feel like I've been lucky enough to live in a time where brands comprehend this element too. And they say, you know what? We're going to gather folks and creative, talented folks, and we're going to give them an experience. We're going to get them to connect with each other. We're going to get them to just play. play in this craft they have chosen, photography, and just enjoy themselves, right? What a very drastic thought. What a shattering idea to allow the artist to just play in the craft that they've chosen. And it works. It works. Whether it comes with an agenda or not, whatever you may, think about this approach, because we're all a bit pessimistic when we think about brands and their potential agendas. In my experience, it's been a very wholesome, holistic, unforgettable experience every single time. And I feel lucky that I am part of it. And I feel lucky that we live in a time where brands can understand that. Because as artists, we dive into this. We do because we must, right? We feel like we gotta because we gotta take care of ourselves. We have to think about work and life balance often because we have to take care of ourselves. But it's a beautiful thing when that extends over to the partnerships that we make along our careers. And we see that we're not just going to get to work, we're going to get to learn something. We're going to get to connect with a community of creators, of energetic, talented people. We're going to ultimately grow and feel motivated to do the job. Isn't that beautiful? Right. And that's where I think work and life don't have to be mutually exclusive. They can actually coexist and, in fact, benefit us all. Pause for thought. As a creator, I want you to be able to have a sense of discernment where you can detect the kind of clients and relationships that will garner you that level of joy through the process. And if you're a business owner, I wish the same for you, right? You want to be able to consider the projects that can enable you to work with creators in such a fashion that you're both gaining something from the process. Consider that and try to implement it into your future projects in an effort to achieve work and life balance for those creators that you collaborate with and avoid burnout in the process. Pause about it. When somebody in your vicinity has been burnt out, it really means a whole lot of abuse. And that can absolutely happen in a blink of an eye. And that is not fair because we are here because we are optimistic enough to pursue something that is difficult, that is a climb over a mountain, right? We're optimistic enough. And folks like this don't deserve abuse. We deserve platforms and spaces that have an understanding that we can all benefit from a journey filled with creativity, filled with life, filled with relentless willingness to work because it just feels good. Because the fuel that we're using in order to get through is joy, is community, is nature, is a little bit of sunlight, a nice glass of water, human interaction, love and care, some TLC. So, with that, my friends, I urge you to think about your work and life balance, emphasis on that word balance. Reconcile your relationship with the word work and life, and try to think of them as a unit. What would that be like? So take it easy, and I'll see you on the other side.